Good afternoon, everyone. We are going to get started. Welcome to this live application workshop for the Frederick Douglass Global Fellowship. We are thrilled that you've joined us to learn more about this opportunity. Please note that we are recording this and you'll receive the recording a few days after this workshop. And in the background, you're probably going to hear some South African music. It's partly in honor of the fellows going to Cape Town this summer, but also because I live on a very noisy block in New York City. So I'm hoping the music will cover some of the other sounds that you might hear. And here's what we have in store for you today. Robbie, could we go to the next slide? We're gonna have some brief introductions. Secondly, we'll explain the purpose behind the Douglass Fellowship. What was our mission and what do we hope to accomplish? Next, we'll share some information about what you'll actually be doing in Cape Town if you are chosen as a fellow. Then we'll describe another opportunity, the Frederick Douglass Summer Scholars. We'll share the eligibility requirements for these scholarships, and then we'll walk through the application section by section with tips for each portion. And we'll end with any questions that you have, which we'll do via the chat box. Next slide, please. So my name is Stacy. I'm the director of the fellowship, which is a position that was recently created to manage the growth of this program. I also wear another hat at CIEE, Associate Director of Relations for MSIs. And in that role, I work with institutions who serve a diverse demographic of students and try to get their students to study abroad on the range of programs that CIEE offers. I am also an alum of a CIEE program. The first time I ever left the country was with CIEE on a program to London. And it was, without doubt, one of the best times of my life. Made friends from all over the world, traveled to some fascinating cities. I hosted a TV and radio show, not because I had any experience, but because they liked my accent. And I gained lots of marketable skills that have served me well throughout my career. So it is a real honor and a pleasure to be in a position where I am facilitating that experience for others. And I hope with every core of my being that you take advantage of this or any other opportunity to live abroad for a little while. It will enhance your life in so many ways. And my right-hand man in this effort, as far as Douglass is concerned, is the wonderful Robbie Vance. So can you introduce yourself, Robbie?
Yeah, absolutely. So hi, everyone. My name is Robbie. I've been at CIEE for a few years now, and I'm the program manager for the Frederick Douglass Global Fellowship. I used to work here as an admissions coordinator, where my position was when I first started, and I specialize in Spain and Latin America programs. A lot of that stemmed from my experience teaching in Spain, as well as my own study abroad time that I spent in southern Brazil. So I did a fall semester abroad in Brazil, and absolutely it was life-changing. You can see I'm very happy in this photo, and I've been back a few times since, and it was really impressionable on my career path and my interests, and it holds a special place in my heart. So I'm really excited to work with you all as you're applying to this fellowship and helping answer your questions and making sure that you have everything you need to submit a successful application.
Thank you, Robbie. Let me introduce CIEE to you in case you're not familiar with the organization. It stands for Council on International Educational Exchange. We are a nonprofit student exchange organization that was founded after World War II in the hopes that peace could be advanced if students from these different countries that have been at war could spend time living in each other's countries. And we're doing the same thing now, sending students abroad, not just for their own professional development, but really as a form of foreign diplomacy. You have the potential as ambassadors of this country to really make the world a better place. And we do these exchanges in a number of ways. We have programs for college and university students, but we also send high school students abroad, college grads who want to teach English abroad. We have international internships. We welcome in inbound students from loads of different countries. We can customize a program for a university. So we are intimately involved with the many facets of the student exchange world. Next slide, please. One of our priorities at CIEE is to increase access to these opportunities. Knowing the benefits of studying abroad firsthand, it's a shame that so few students take advantage of this. And the image on the left-hand side depicts the percentage of US college students from all backgrounds who study abroad. 1 out of 10, that's it. And out of the 10% that do, an even smaller percentage are students of color, as we see in that second graph on the right. When I studied abroad with CIEE 27 years ago, I was one of 2 Black students on the program, and we've made some progress since then, but clearly not enough. Next slide, please. So we're trying to change that with efforts like the Douglas Fellowship, so that the image that you see here on the left, which is of the fellows taken this past summer in London, can be what a classroom abroad looks like. We want to change the face of study abroad because the world needs to see that we represent America too. So that is our mission. We also want to give you the tools to be conduits of change on a global scale, just like Frederick Douglass. Can we go back to the Frederick Douglass image? Here on the right, as a young man, the most photographed man of his time, by the way, and you can see why. I hope and pray he needs no introduction. But one thing I learned about him recently is that he also had an experience abroad that really shaped him. Soon after he escaped from slavery, he toured around the UK in an effort to gain international support for the abolitionist movement. He succeeded, became a bit of a celebrity, then he came back here and incited war. Now, we're not saying you need to go that far, but we do hope that you come back from this experience fired up and energized by a rich and wonderful learning opportunity and emerge from it poised to be a global leader. Next slide now, please. Thank you. One question I often get that I wanted to address quickly is why MSIs, or what the heck is an MSI anyway, because you may not be familiar with the acronym. MSIs are federally defined and they include mission-led institutions such as historically Black colleges and universities and tribal colleges and universities, as well as institutions with over 25% Latinx or over 10% of Asian students. So that's a lot of institutions, as you can imagine, particularly as our population continues to diversify. And on the screen is a map of MSIs across the world. Now, many MSIs offer lots of opportunities for their students to study abroad. Schools such as Howard and Florida A&M and Lehman College and Spelman and University of Houston, and I could go on. But those are the fortunate ones. Many other MSIs lack the resources to offer study abroad the way that their predominantly white counterparts do. So some of you listening may not have a study abroad office or advisor on your campus, for example. And kudos to you, because that means that you took the initiative to learn more about this opportunity on your own. But that's the reason we're focused on this particular cohort of institutions. We're trying again to expand access. Next slide, please. Now let's talk about Cape Town. What is in store for you if you are selected as a fellow? I just had the good fortune of visiting Cape Town a couple of weeks ago, I'm happy to say, and it is absolutely gorgeous. If you could go to the next slide, Robbie. We've got wonderful landscapes, or they've got wonderful landscapes, gorgeous beaches, great food. I had crocodile and ostrich for the first time, which was delicious. Friendly people, and there's no language barrier, so it's really easy to meet folks. You can see why it's a tourist hotspot. And pictured there is Tyler, who's one of the wonderful students I had the pleasure of meeting. Tyler having fun in a variety of ways, including with some penguins. So it has all of that, but it's also a very rich learning environment in light of its history. Obviously, you'll learn more about Mandela and see where he grew up and where he was imprisoned. You'll see the legacy of apartheid manifest in the townships that the majority of Black people still live in. You'll visit the university and meet with campus leaders who protested for change and tore down statues of colonizers, and you will see so many parallels between their struggle and our own. So you'll have a good time, but you'll learn a lot as well. Next slide, please. And much of that learning is thanks to your 2 marvelous course leaders, Dr. Keisha Abraham and Quentin Redcliffe. Dr. Abraham was a dean at Florida Memorial, which is an HBCU in Miami, prior to joining CIEE. And Quentin, or Papa Q, as we call him, is from Cape Town, born and bred, and has worked for CIEE for almost 2 decades. So they have years of experience leading groups abroad, and they're gifted and dynamic teachers who will co-teach a course called Intercultural Communication and Leadership, which applies to any major, and will be augmented by a host of excursions and other activities. Next slide, please. One of those being the Mandela Day Service, where students worked with an economic empowerment center at a township in Cape Town. And there will be many other opportunities to interact with locals and learn from them, and opportunities to see different parts of the country as well, like Johannesburg. Next slide, please. Another unique part of the program is the opportunity to produce a video about your experience. And together with a professional documentarian, you'll tell your story. And we post those reflection pieces on our website and on other channels. I'd encourage you to have a look at them on ciee.org/FDGF, as they'll give you further insight into what the experience of being a fellow involves. Now, I've neglected to mention that all of this is free for the fellows. We take care of the flight and the accommodation and the tuition and the excursions and the videos and even most meals, which is a beautiful thing, but we can only do that for 10 very fortunate individuals. Now, if you're thinking, well, that's super competitive, why even try? I'm about to tell you why. There is a plan B. And that plan B is, even if you aren't selected as one of the fellows, if you are eligible and submit a complete application, you can still receive a $1,500 scholarship plus a $500 travel grant that may be used towards any summer program offered by CIEE. So that brings the program fee for many of our summer programs down to $2,650. In addition, the presidents of many MSIs, 55 and counting, in support of this effort to increase access to a global education, have committed to matching that grant for some or all of their students who apply. Here's a photo of them that you probably could be difficult to read, but go to our website, or even better, ask your school's study abroad office for details. Now, if you go to one of those matching schools, like Florida A&M or Benedict or Morgan State or Cal State Fresno, you can receive $3,000, bringing the cost down of a typical program to $1,150. Now, many of those same schools will have limitations on the number of matching scholarships they can award, so that's a question you definitely should ask from your study abroad office. Now, $1,150 is still a lot of money, but it's a lot better than $4,150, and that $1,150 can be covered by financial aid or other scholarships like the Gilman Award, or by fundraising. So start thinking about what your plan B might be. Where can you go? You can go almost anywhere. CIEE is the oldest and largest student exchange organization, and our network is wide, as you can see. So it's up to you where you might want to go. Next slide, please. And if you take advantage of that opportunity, you will have earned the title of Frederick Douglass Summer Scholar. And the Summer Scholars are a pretty impressive bunch, because you will have met the same eligibility requirements as a fellow, but been enterprising enough to get those last funds together. And while it will be a different program to what the fellows do, it will still be an enriching experience. And last year, Paris was the top program choice for the Summer Scholars. So I wanted to show a photo of the Paris summer cohort. So with that, I will pass the baton to Robbie to walk us through the application.
Thank you. So now we're going to discuss a little bit about the application itself, and then once we talk about kind of some of the parameters of the application, we're going to log on and go through the steps together, and I'll explain each of the tasks. So the application can be found online. I'm assuming most of you all participating have probably already started this, but if not, you can just go to Frederick Douglass Global Fellows landing page at ciee.org/FDGF, and it will link directly to the application for you. So first, I want to go through a couple of eligibility requirements. We're going to just go through this checklist. The first eligibility requirement is that you must be a freshman or sophomore attending a minority serving institution. So just like Stacy just talked about, MSIs are all over the US and around the world. So you must be attending an MSI as an undergraduate, freshman, or sophomore. You also must be eligible to receive federal Pell Grant funding. If you're not sure about your eligibility, I definitely recommend checking your most recent FAFSA. We do ask that you provide us with information from that. So if you need help with that, you could probably talk with a counselor in your financial aid office. You also must have a minimum GPA of a 3.0. This is a competitive program, and it's an academic program. So we really want to have students that are excelling in their academics as well as socially. We also ask that you reside in the US with a student status or be a national or permanent resident. And the application deadline, of course, is this Friday, February 14th. It's at 11:59 p.m. So you have until the very end of the day to complete it. So now we're going to go through the application portal itself. Allow me just to switch over here. All right. So as you can see here, I've got an application pulled up, and so this is my CIE account. This is your CIE My Account, is kind of your landing page for everything that you'll have to have as a CIE student. So whether you're accepted to the fellowship or end up becoming a summer scholar and traveling elsewhere, this will always be your landing page for all the information you're going to need from CIEE. So as you can see, I haven't really started anything on my application yet. So I'm in the first bar in progress. A lot of these tasks, there are a lot on here, but many of them are quite straightforward. So a lot of general bio information or just things that you should already know the answer to that shouldn't take very long to complete. So the first task we'll look at is general bio information. As you can see, it's exactly what it sounds like: date of birth, country of birth, state, etc. Anytime you see an asterisk beside the task, it means it is required to complete. So if you're having issues submitting a task, just double check to make sure you've had something entered in every field where it's required. Next, we have citizenship status. Again, exactly what it sounds like. It gives you a couple options, either US citizen, permanent resident, or neither of these. Just select whatever is appropriate for you. Up next, we have address information. Again, very straightforward here. We ask that you provide us with your permanent or your home address. So the first address you list should be anywhere that you're currently receiving mail. It could be your apartment, it could be your house, it could be your mailbox on campus. Whatever you use as your primary address, that's what you should list here. We also ask that you fill out an alternate school address. So if you couldn't be found at this address, what's a backup address that you have? And one thing you will notice on this task is it does ask for an alternate address start and end date. This could be a little confusing sometimes because it doesn't really make a whole lot of sense unless you're currently living at a place that has a limited time on it. So for example, if you're in a dorm for the semester, or if your lease is up in the summer or something like that, that just allows you to specify from what time you'll be there. These do have asterisks, so you have to fill them out. Up next, we have emergency contact information. Who is the best person to reach you in case of an emergency? Should we need to contact someone else? You can put their information here. Next, we have academic information. This is really important for us to be able to verify some of those eligibility requirements of the fellowship. So here you can see your year in school. Are you a freshman, sophomore, junior, senior, etc.? Also, we ask for your cumulative GPA. So if you've been in school for multiple semesters, what's your overall GPA? But we also ask for your most recent term GPA. So maybe you're a freshman and you've just completed one semester so far of school. All you have to do is just let us know what your GPA was for this past term that you participated in. There is a task called GPA in relevant language. This is not required to complete to submit. We use that task for programs that have language requirements, and this fellowship does not. We also ask that you tell us what your major and minor are. If you're a dual major, there's that option. And we also ask that you let us know what classes you're taking. So these are all the courses you'll be taking before the program starts. It really just helps us to get a better idea of where you're at academically. So for this, you should be listing any class that you're presently enrolled in for the spring term. And then finally, do you have any disciplinary sanctions at your home university? Up next, we have enrollment status. So we're just wanting to find out if you're enrolled full-time or part-time. It's just an easy yes or no task. After the enrollment status comes the homeschool nomination. So this can be a little confusing sometimes if you're not familiar with it. The homeschool nomination is basically your opportunity to let CIE know who your study abroad advisor is or who your point of contact is at your university for your study abroad program. So it asks, do you want to receive credit for grades that you receive on the program? As Stacy mentioned, you will be taking an intercultural leadership course, which is a pretty standard leadership class that's easily transferable. You should receive credit for this, so you'll want to select yes, and then it will ask you to select who your study abroad advisor is. So right now I have my institution listed as University of Massachusetts in Boston, and it gives me 2 names already. So if I know one of these people and I've been working with them at my school, I'll select their name. But if I'm not recognizing these names, or if I don't have anyone listed, I can select my advisor is not listed. It will allow me to then put the information here, and I can select an alternate contact. So if you don't have a study abroad office at your school, or maybe you're not sure who that point of contact would be, you can list your regular advisor here for this. And what will happen is they will receive a nomination email from CIEE that they'll complete on your behalf, basically saying that you're eligible for the program, you have no sanctions, and they're going to specify how they're going to receive the credit. And if you have questions about this, you can always reach out to us. It will help you find the right person to contact. Up next, we have the letter of recommendation. So the letter of recommendation is going to come from someone at your school. It can be a professor that you've really gotten along well with, a faculty member, president, chancellor, really anyone at your school who can speak to your experience as a student and a campus leader, and really be able to speak to your character to nominate you. You'll just type in their email address and their information here, and we'll send them the nomination form, and they'll upload it on your behalf. Just want to point out that that is also due by the deadline. So by midnight on Friday, we should have those received. If you or your advisor or whoever your recommender is having issues with this task, please don't hesitate to reach out and let us know. Oftentimes, if there's a technical issue or something, we can just upload it if you send it to us. So just make sure that this is completed as it is required on the application. After that, we have transcripts. We do accept unofficial transcripts for this application, so don't worry about having to request an official one. Oftentimes, you'll find your unofficial transcript is available through whatever your school's student portal is. So the same place where you register for classes or check your parking tickets or whatever it might be, you can usually find a copy of your unofficial transcript there as well. And if you're having trouble with that, your academic advisor should be able to provide it for you. Up next is the personal essay. This should be no longer than 800 words, and it's going to be coming straight from you, and it should be saying why you believe that studying abroad is important for students at minority serving institutions. So Stacy mentioned some really great points in that earlier in the presentation. You can touch on those, or you can come up with your own ideas, but basically we want to hear how you plan on sharing your experience when you're back on campus and why you think that studying abroad is important for you and your institution. Again, no more than 800 words, and you'll just upload it directly to your application. Up next comes the personal video. Now, I really like the personal video because I think it's the best opportunity for you to show your personality in the application. You can be as much as or little creative as you want with the video. It should be no longer than 2 minutes and uploaded to like YouTube or Vimeo, and you'll just paste the link to that video here in this blank task. Definitely get creative with it. You can, have a friend help you if you want. You can, walk around campus or go to your favorite classroom. Really anything that's going to help you show off your personality and make you feel comfortable and help us get to know you better is key with uploading the video. And one thing I do want to mention is when you are uploading your video, just make sure that you select unlisted or public in the settings when you're uploading it on YouTube. That way we'll actually be able to open it. Up next, we have the terms and conditions. It's like a pretty standard terms and conditions. And if you're familiar, I definitely would encourage you to open up the terms and conditions to browse through. We always have these available on our website at any point. So if you ever need to reference them, they are available to you. And you'll just have to type in your signature saying that you acknowledge them and that you've looked over them. Up next, we ask you to let us know a little bit about how you found out about the fellowship and maybe what brought you here. So pretty standard questions. Have you participated in the study abroad program before? Maybe where if you have, how'd you hear about us, etc. And then we have a really important task called scholarships and grants. So this might seem a bit redundant as the fellowship itself is a form of a scholarship. However, we do need you to complete a scholarships and grants application in order to verify that you are receiving Pell Grants. So how you do that, you're going to select here and you're going to just select the first option that says, yes, I'm applying for need-based grants only. It's really important that you do this or else we won't be able to verify your financial aid status. So I'm going to go ahead, I'm going to click that and I'm going to save and close. And what will happen when I save, it's going to give me this little confirmation window saying that a new scholarship application has been opened for you. It's going to appear on the tab next to my program application. And so I'm going to close this and scroll up. It's refreshing now. But now you can see right beside my Cape Town application, I now have the Scholarship Summer Session 3 application open for 2020. So I'm going to go ahead and hop over to that briefly just to take a look at it. And you can see there's 3 tasks on here. The first is the EFC number. So the EFC number is the number that's generated when you complete a FAFSA every year, and that's what we use to determine need-based grants. So you're going to select yes, you filed FAFSA from the last academic year, and then just type in what your number is right here. It says it should be a 6-digit number, but you should just type in whatever is appearing on your student aid report. And if you're not familiar with your student aid report, if you go to the task right underneath it, we ask that you upload a copy of it, and there's an example student aid report you can look at. So this is what it should look like. You get this every time you do a FAFSA, and it's going to have your personal information on it as well as an EFC number. So you can see the EFC numbers right here. That's what you're going to type in on your application. There's also the option to upload proof of your Gilman Scholarship. So many of you maybe have heard of the Gilman Scholarship before. It's a fantastic opportunity for additional funding. If you want to apply to that, I highly encourage it. It is a separate entity in of itself, so you will have to do a separate application through Gilman, but it's a great way to get a little bit of extra funding, and there are different requirements for that, so definitely be sure to check out the website. So I'm going to hop back to the rest of the application to finish it up. So we've done our scholarships and grants, we've uploaded our EFC number and our FAFSA. Now we're going to select our alternate program interest. So your alternate program interest will be for, if the case you're not selected for the fellowship but end up becoming a summer scholar, you can go to any of our other summer programs that we're offering to take advantage of your $1,500 or your possible $3,000, depending on where you go to school. It'll just ask you to select programs that you're interested in for the summer that aren't the fellowship. So I can select Amsterdam and maybe Alicante as some backup options just in case. And then finally, there's 2 passport tasks. These are optional for submission. So even if you fill out every other task on your application but don't have these completed, that's okay. You can still submit even without them completed. If you don't have a passport currently, don't worry. You have plenty of time to apply for one, and it's not going to affect your ability to be reviewed at all. Same thing goes if you need to renew your passport. You can just ignore that for now. But if you do have that information available, I would encourage you to upload it, just because at some point we will need to have it, whether you're doing the fellowship or if you end up becoming a summer scholar somewhere else with CIEE. And then finally, you'll see there's a little tab for essential information. This is going to be where all of your important documents live. So information about our travel insurance, scholarships and grants, things like that will always be posted into this tab on your account. So if you're accepted, this is where you're going to find all of your pre-departure materials and readings that are going to be really helpful for you as you're planning. And then on the side, I just want to point out that we have a little bit of program info. So it's got the deadline here, which is the 14th, as well as the dates of this program. And there's also a contact page. So if you have any questions while you're working on the application, it's got my contact info here. There's me with my phone number and the option to send me a message. So if you're running into issues, you can just send me a quick message saying, I need help, or specify what your problem is, and I'll follow up with you and make sure that your questions are answered. So it looks like a lengthy application, and there are a lot of tasks on it, but I promise it really doesn't take that long. The most lengthy portions will be the essay and the video, and then of course waiting on your letter of recommendation. But other than that, all of the tasks should be done fairly quickly. At any point, if you have questions, definitely feel free to reach out to us. And that's the application. I'm gonna open the floor now for Stacy to help answer questions. So if you have questions at this time, just feel free to write them in the group chat box and make sure that you're sending your message to everyone so that way we can see it. And it can be a question about the application timeline, the process, about Cape Town, really whatever questions you have, we're happy to answer. I'll unmute Stacy. There you go, Stacy. You should be all set.
I'm unmuted just in time for a siren to come by. I gave up on my background music because I forgot that YouTube plays ads as well. Any questions from our attendees? Thank you, everyone. And thank you, Robbie.
Yeah. So just got a question from Taylin, and it says, hi, if I was a dual enrolled student and my credit exceeds sophomore status, but my community college classified me as a sophomore, am I eligible? Yes, you should still apply. As long as your school is classifying you as a sophomore, that's what you should go forward with on your application, and you should be good to still submit.
Good question. I'm sure we have a lot of students in that position, so thank you. Other questions? When will we hear back if we got the fellowship? Well, we will be calling the fellows, because who wouldn't want to make that call? So we're all very excited to get a chance to do that. So the fellows we will call. Our goal is to have the applications reviewed in a few weeks, because we want to give those who are not selected plenty of time to decide where they might want to go instead. So hopefully by mid-March, we'll be able to announce who the fellows are. So the fellows will receive calls, but we'll also announce it via email and on Instagram. So that'll probably be the first place we announce it. So urge you to join our Instagram page for that reason. But that's the goal.
So I just got a message from a guest asking if the minimum requirement is a 3.0, but they're at a 3.9 GPA currently. Should they still consider applying? I would encourage you, yes, to still submit your application. And maybe in your personal essay, you could really be specific on how you plan on succeeding academically and really making that a big focus for you coming up in the next semesters and while you're abroad. I think a 2.9 is extremely close, and there may be other benefits still from submitting an application. So yeah, I think it's definitely worth it to still go through and submit, even if you're teetering right on the 3.0.
Not seeing any other questions come in. If you think of some later, you can reach us on the various ways that you see on screen. And just want to encourage all of you to get that application done in the next few days. And we very much look forward to receiving it. And thank you for joining us.
Yeah, thank you all. And if you have questions, definitely reach out. We'll be happy to help.
Bye, everyone.
Goodbye.